Baseball season every Monday. As we start hour 3 during baseball season, we're going to visit with the former SEC Pitcher of the Year, All-American Louis Coleman, good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes each Monday during baseball season to talk about the weekend that was for the Fighting Tigers. Louis, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
Doing good, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I look forward to a good season and getting to join you every Monday. It's a treat for me.
Dude, it's our pleasure, man. We're glad to have you, and we appreciate the time. So opening weekend comes and goes. Do you ever think that you can extract anything big picture about a team after the first weekend?
I think there's some things that you can pull, but I think for the most part, it's kind of getting the feet wet, with the freshmen and even a junior or senior that might be making a different stride going into this year, and looking for a lot of improvement. So there's a lot of jitters, and it's really about getting out there and just getting your feet wet and getting going. And I think there are some things you can take. I'm biased, so I think you can take more from the positive than you can from the negative, just because it is the first weekend. But there were some things that they did well this past weekend.
Let's start with the starters, where you obviously know that well. Cole Henry was dominant. I know you got to see him a lot last year. 4 innings pitched, 71 pitches, 8 strikeouts, no walks. My one question is, okay, with a guy that's those type of strikeout numbers, does the pitch count become a problem because he's not being as efficient? That's nitpicking, Louis, but is that something that you take out of Henry's opening weekend?
You always want a guy to try and get outs in 3 pitches or less so he can pitch deep into the game. The longer the season goes, obviously his pitch count's going to go up a little bit. I know whenever I started, if I didn't get my full 90 to 100 pitches, then I was going to be upset. But I understand what Coach Maneri's doing, and it's the right move early in the season. It's cold out there. But at the same time, you want a guy on the mound that can strike guys out, because when you do get second and third, no outs, 1 out, you need to be able to get a strikeout. So it's a catch-22. There's pros and cons to everything, but I would be really happy having Cole Henry on the mound. I'll take the punch outs, and we'll let that bullpen eat up those last couple innings if we have to.
That almost goes without saying. So the second and third spots in the rotation, Marceau and Labus both worked into and out of a lot of trouble in their 4+ innings of work. Knowing Paul Maneri like you do, how much does he at this point, along with Alan Dunn, evaluate his starters to determine if they're going to stay in those spots? And when ideally would he like to have that nailed down, that rotation?
I would say by SEC play, only because it's really early. But also, I was talking to Chris McGee, played with him and all 4 years at LSU when I was there, and he was a part of that 09 team. And he's got a really good baseball mind. And preparing for the show, I called him, and he said, "Louis, some people forget that the Indiana won their conference last year, and the team out of their conference competed for a national championship." So I say maybe Cole Henry was a little bit more polished, and so he didn't see that trouble like the other 2 guys did. But at the same time, maybe they were facing some those at bats were more of a grinding at bat for those guys, and so you saw a little bit more trouble out of them. Like I said, they got 53 games left in the regular season. We're here to talk about the positive and the negatives, and if it was they don't want each game 15-0, then it wouldn't really give us much to talk about both sides of the coin. So I think they're going to ride him out. I think he knows who he's got right now, and it's very rare that those 3 starters or the 3 starters they have at the end of the season. So it'll play out, but I think right now he's going to stick with those guys.
Louis Coleman's with us. Now, your last year, of course, 09, you started the first game of the season against Villanova, opening up the new box. And we know that Maneri sometimes will do that for a veteran, will give him the opening day start. But your role evolved, right? I mean, you would close on Friday and then start on Sunday. It seems like that kind of versatile piece isn't used in college baseball anymore, if it's an arm care thing or whatever. But they have an interesting scenario this year with Jaden Hill, who ran it up there 98 this weekend, Louis. how? Let me ask you from your experience that in '09 where you would close and then come back and start. Is that something that you think is a strategy that should or could still be used in the college game today?
I think it was a very unique situation. I personally had gone through some ups and downs at LSU, and finally, in '09, had gotten a really close relationship with Coach Maneri. And when Coach Maneri recruits a player, he sits down with each parent and he tells those parents that, hey, I have your kid's best interest at heart. Is he trying to win ball games? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, he's trying to help those kids get on. And even if it's not baseball, he doesn't want to hurt them. And it took a lot of pleading on my part to try and tell Coach, please let me throw as much as possible. If I have to go work at McDonald's or wherever, flip burgers, like that is what I'll do. I don't care what I do after this. I'm not worried about Major League Baseball. I want to play at LSU. I want to win a national championship or compete for one. And so it took a while, but because he was so concerned with my health. So it's not that role is obsolete anymore, or that it's won't ever happen again. I just thought it was a very sensitive situation there that we had, and Coach trusted me with it, and it only happened a few times. I think 2 or 3 times. So it's not like it happened a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think having Hill able to go as a starter, if you could guarantee 7 solid innings every time, yeah, I mean that's great. But also being on the bullpen side of everything in the professional ranks, I like having the guy for 2, maybe even 3 innings, in a game when it's crunch time. Because Coach Maneri's MO has always been one game at a time. Let's win today. We'll figure it out tomorrow. And he's got enough depth in that bullpen to where if Hill did throw, let's say, 3 innings on Friday night, and we would say that he's spent for Saturday and Sunday, then he has some other guys that can do that as well.
He is, Louis, to say he's impressive is an understatement. I mean, talent-wise, he might be the best arm on the team. Would you
probably in a long time too?
Yeah,
I mean, how electric he is, and just how smooth and fluid and just effortless. And like we were saying at the beginning, there's a lot of positives to take away from the weekend. I think it would be an understatement to say that the coaches were very pleasantly surprised at what they were getting there.
So would you kind of alluded to it there, but is it more valuable to have Jaden Hill if he proves that his arm can sustain your starters' innings? Is it more valuable to have him in that role or as that sort of versatile chess piece in the bullpen?
I think I got to start a little bit at LSU, but once I got into the professional stuff, I was all bullpen, and I just saw how valuable a bullpen could be. Now, obviously, if you have a dominant starter, an Aaron Nola going out there, yes, we would all kill for that. But to have that in your bullpen, that weapon in your bullpen, a shutdown guy that can, like we were talking about, that second and third, and nobody out, you can bring him in from the bullpen in the 7th inning. He could throw 7th, 8th, and 9th and finish the game. Yeah, he might be spent for the weekend, but like I was saying, you have Fontenot that could also do that same thing. So it's not like you're losing your big arm out of the bullpen. You have other guys that can step in.
Sorry, man. That timing, I'll learn cadence. I'll get better. The last thing is kind of Paul Maneri always tinkers with his lineup. Like we know that's just what he does. He uses the first 3 weeks or so to figure out who he's got, who he wants to play where. And so we had this question about shortstop, right? So they got a really good theoretically defensive shortstop there in Hal Hughes, who hasn't really hit in his career. A lot of people bring up the example of Austin Nola in '09 on your team, where Austin didn't really hit as a freshman, but he was so good defensively at short that Maneri was able to sacrifice the bat. Well, Hal booted a couple of balls this weekend, and Paul Maneri is going to move Zach Mathis to short. He's going to reshuffle his infield for the midweek game tomorrow to see how that goes. As a pitcher, would you rather have a premium defender at a spot like short, or would you rather have the extra bat in the lineup?
I was always told if you pitch, you win. So they can scratch 1 or 2 wherever it is. You got, I mean, like I believe he got, was it 1 or 2 hits? Hal got 1 or 2 hits over the weekend.
Hal was,
but it was a 2 RBI hit.
yeah,
So
he was one.
He might not be.
I'm sorry, I was saying he was 1 of 8, but the hit he got was an RBI, was a 2-out RBI single.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So I mean, if we're sacrificing a lot of knocks for some RBIs every now and then, I'm taking the fielding every time as a pitcher, because I want to know that I can have the plays made in the field, and we got 8 other guys that can drive the runs in. And if Hal Hughes is making my plays behind me, then I know he's going to – I mean, the guy's going to give you competitive at bats. Now, is he going to come through every time? No, but he's going to compete. It's not like he's going up there and not trying, you know. So I would take the glove any day of the week just because I'm a pitcher. I feel like I can give our team a chance to win. And some guys might be different, but I want to know that the ground ball, the 4-6-3 double play, those are going to be turned.
Louis Coleman, former Tiger great, good enough to spend Mondays with us here in the 5 o'clock hour. Brought to you by Kentucky's Best Hemp. So you're working with this company. You're living in Kentucky now, right?
Yes, sir. I've been living up here for about 4 or 5 years, somewhere around there. Married a girl whose brother and I played together in Kansas City. And so that's how I met her, and her family's up this way. So we live up here now in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Dude, score me some good bourbon, all right?
Yeah. Well, I think we should do bourbon and baseball or something. That should be our theme of our show.
Why didn't I think of that? You know what? I'm going to call you after, and we're gonna brainstorm. But in the meantime, Kentucky's Best Hemp, KYS, besthemp.com. A lot of Louis, I'm ignorant too, man, but I'm learning. But so a lot of athletes use hemp products, and there's no CBD or there's no THC, right?
Well, it depends. The full spectrum has the THC, and then you can have the isolate form, which does not have the THC. So, like we have both sides of that for like the truck driver or the bus driver or teachers or whoever is subject to a drug test.
Right.
And it just helps with the CBD in general helps with anxiety and inflammation, arthritis. It'll help you sleep, and it's also been proven to help with epilepsy.
I love it, man. You got eddies, jellies. I'm looking at like droppies, toppies, all the different ways that you could possibly consume it. And you've got there's dog treats as well?
Yes, and it does the same stuff. It's, you get the dogs up in age and they have arthritis in their hips, that sort of stuff. And it helps with that inflammation. And then last year we saw around 4th of July, all the fireworks, and the dogs get a lot of anxiety with the loud noises. It helps them chill out a little bit, so it's not as big of an issue. If you're having a big party at the house and the dogs always get rambunctious, it's a good thing to help them mellow out a little bit.
That's crazy.
Relax.
KYSbesthemp.com. KYSbesthemp.com to go check it out. Just for the information purposes, I'm interested, man. I had knee surgery this past summer, and man, it would be nice to get relief. So I'm gonna check it out, man. No, go ahead.
No, that's what the salve is really good for. That you rub directly on there, kind of like an icy hot or something, but it has the CBD in it as well, so it'll get down into those direct spots.
All right, I'm in. I'll use it, and I'll give you an honest to goodness report on it, man.
I think that sounds like a good idea. I'll send you some samples here tomorrow.
In the meantime, we're going to talk off air, and we're going to talk bourbon too, because we will work bourbon into this segment now.
Absolutely.
All right, Louis, thanks for the time, man. We'll visit soon.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.